Good morning, students. Welcome to YOAS Academy News Analysis of July 9, 2026. Now, let's get into today's articles. So, the first article for today is linking about the relationship of Australia and India regarding the Indian diaspora that is being present in the Australia. So, before going to navigate into this particular article, we need to have some basic knowledge on the relationships between India and Australia. Now, let's have a look of that. Now, the relationships between India and Australia has a long go or a long history. First of all, it has started during the British era. So, this is the phase 1. So, phase 1 of the relationships is during the British era, where both the countries are ruled by British, and at the same time Britishers ruled both the countries, and there are some connecting trading links between both the countries. In the same time, India has opened one of the trade linking office in Australia. This is the first step for cooperation between India and Australia in the pre-independent era, that is British era. Now, this has been moved to phase 2 after the achievement of independence for India. Now, this era is called as the era of cooperation, and same time the era that has caused differences between both the countries. Why? Because India and Australia are both part of Commonwealth grouping, and at the same time both the countries follow Westminster type of parliamentary system. So, these are the ideologies that are linking both the countries, but at the same time there exist differences between both the countries, like India was aligned towards USSR, whereas Australia became ally and friend of USA. So here caused the differences between both the countries. Now, in phase 3, the relationships in phase 3 is termed around 1990s, where India's second phase of nuclear tests has caused differences between both the countries. And at the same time, India and Australia has made an agreement with respect to import and export of uranium. This is the third phase. Whereas fourth phase is like the modern phase of relationship, especially in the year 2009, where India and Australia, they agreed on a strategic partnership with each other. So, from this phase 4 onwards, the relationships between India and Australia has spreaded and has become very good relationship with each other via strategic partnership with one another. Now here, the article today that is presenting about the Indian diaspora who are present in the Australia. Now, according to the latest research, from the last 2 centuries, European diaspora is major part of the Australia, but now Indian diaspora has outnumbered the European diaspora in Australia. This is one of the advantage or positive step regarding the development of relationships between India and Australia. Why? Because before, the relationship between India and Australia is a focus of three C's. So, three C's, that is cricket, curry and Commonwealth. So, the relationship is only between these three things. Whereas, now it has been transitioned into 4 Ds. That is democracy, defense, diaspora and dosti, that is friendship. So, the transitioning of the relationship between both the countries from 3 C's to 4 D's framework is one of the important thing that we need to know down. And you can quote directly this particular thing, whatever I have highlighted in the green color, in your answer directly, like the way of advancement of relationships between India and Australia. Now, there are also large public gatherings in the name of Melbourne meets Modi. So, these kind of things you can mention in your answer writing. It will be like a value addition. Now here, the main thing is that they are comparing the situation in the 1960s and 70s. So, especially in the 1960s and 70s, there is a law or there is a policy that is a White Australian policy. So, according to that particular policy, only European migration is more favored when compared to migration of people or the diaspora from other countries. Whenever this has been dismantled, the number of Indian diaspora or Indians who are going to Australia, they have increased, and after almost 2 centuries, now Indian diaspora is dominating and it outnumbered the European diaspora. This is what you need to understand from this particular article, like how this is an significant step for development of relations between India and Australia. So, now the advantages. Now, because of this, there are some of the advantages for both India and Africa. First and foremost thing is that before you need to understand this, you need to have some basic knowledge on India and Australia relationships. That is, both the countries are part of some of the groupings called Quad and Supply Chain Initiative, Resilience Initiative, and also along with this, both the countries are part of Commonwealth and also G20, WHO, WTO, so many groupings. So both the countries are part of many groupings, and at the same time, both the countries have some of the exercises that are being conducted jointly, that is Malabar exercise of Quad and OS Index, along with that Taranga Shakti and Milan, etc. So, these are the various other exercises where India and Australia share cooperation and participate together with each other. Now, along with this, now this diaspora is also one of the added advantage between both the countries. So, this is what you need to understand from this article. Now, the positive impacts of this particular improvement is that it acts as an economic asset for both the countries and it acts as an force multiplier. So, it is both economic asset and at the same time force multiplier for both the countries. So, this can be told as the next step in the advancements of relationship between India and the Australia. Okay, so this is what you need to understand from this particular article, like the history of relationships between India and Australia, and at the same time what this article it is mentioning about the diaspora. Okay, so this is what you need to understand. Now, let's see in the prelims and mains point of view. So, in the prelims point of view, as I already told you, border countries of Australia and straits. What are the straits? Let's say Bass Strait, Cook Strait, Formok Strait. So straits between Australia, New Zealand and that particular region. And at the same time, exercises, naval, army, air force. So which exercises are common between India and Australia? And both the countries are part of what groupings? Let's say G20. Take G20. Is Australia part of G20 or not? So those kind of bits, there is a possibility for prelims. So this is what you need to understand from the prelims point of view. And now in the mains point of view, you need to have basic knowledge on the historical relationships between both the countries and ideological differences between both the countries. Same time, not only we need to mention similarities or historical good relationships, but we can also make list of factors that are separating the relationship between both the countries. And at the same time, you can highlight this particular advancement between both the countries. And now this is what you need to understand from the prelims and the mains point of view, and try to highlight the things whatever I have highlighted in the green color, so you can use that things directly in your mains answer writing. Now let's get into next article. So the next article for today is how India withstood the crisis in the West Asia. So we all have seen, and this kind of articles we are observing in the daily editorials, like how India has faced the crisis in the West Asia. Majorly because of this crisis, what happened is that India almost depends upon other countries. So India is like third largest oil importer, and it imports majority of its oil and also LPG from the countries in the West Asia. Now, because of this import dependence, and which is causing where world is facing supply chain disruptions, where number of straits like Strait of Hormuz, etc., they were blocked at this point of time, and along with the wars that the current world is facing at this point of time, how India has made itself a resilient country. How India itself has made itself as a resilient country. So this is what being shown in this particular article. So this article is mentioning that it is comparing the situation with respect to various countries, because this has caused the inflation and surge in the prices of many goods, especially the energy related goods in many countries, where here there are some of the values like the levels of rising levels of inflation in different countries because of West Asia. Whereas India has managed to increase the inflation just around by 8%, like increase of oil prices by just around by 8%. So when compared to other countries, the increase in the prices is less in India when compared to other countries. So this is what being discussed in this particular article. And now this must act as a lesson. This must act as a lesson for India for the upcoming years, and also for the this must act as a case study for the other countries, other developing countries, like how to manage a crisis effectively. Now here they mentioned about 4 ways how India has managed. So the first and foremost thing what this article is discussing is that instead of depending upon only one country, what India did is that it diversified its sources. Like towards USA, Latin America, along with Russia, Africa. So instead of depending upon the one single largest country for imports, diversification of the sources will help any country while the crisis is being happening. This is the first step what India has been done. And now there is one more approach what India has been followed here, that is instead of depending only on the oil or some kind of common energy needs, India has diversified its energy resources, let's say renewable energy, dependence upon the renewable energy, and also ethanol blending via ethanol blending program. So, India has diversified the sources of energy instead of depending upon only on a single source. Along with that, here they have mentioned about one of the thing, the approach that the country has been followed, that is whole of the government approach, where different ministries have cooperated by understanding about silos in each and everything. Cooperation among different ministries and also different organizations. And at the same time, India has given space for the private sector instead of depending only upon the government sector. So these are the 4 steps that made India to stand as a resilient even in the toughest situation that is being faced by the world. Okay, so this is what you need to understand from this particular article, like how India has faced one of the biggest hurdle in the world history, and this should act as a lesson for the future things. And here, one more thing you need to understand is that you can directly highlight this point, that is, in times of crisis, relationships matter as much as reserves. So, here, this is supporting the diversification beyond the particular dependence on one particular country, where we have diversified our sources. So, it is telling that in the times of crisis, the relationships, the soft power that we are maintaining depends more when compared to the reserves that are present. Next, you can directly highlight one more thing, is that the crisis vindicated a decade of energy planning. So, you can use this term called decade of energy planning. Decade of the energy planning. So, this you can use in your answer. And now, you can also use the words like whole of the government approach, where coordination is happening between different ministries and also different institutions. And here, see this one, the recent crisis shows us that the foundations of resilience are laid in years of preparation and not in the moments of the panic. Why? Because the particular resilient approach that India has followed is not happened in a single day or single year. It is like the hard work and the policy that has been framed from years. Okay, so you can highlight these particular points and also the decade of the energy planning, and at the same time India's resilience in the current scenario of the world. So this is what you need to understand from this particular article. Now let's move on to next article. Okay, the next article here, it is mentioning about a crisis on wheels in Kerala. So this article is pointing about a scheme called Priyadarshini Free Bus Ride Scheme. So, this is a scheme that is providing free bus ride to women in Kerala. So, this scheme also has impacted Kerala very negatively. This is what being highlighted in this particular article. Now, the main one and foremost thing what happened is that delay in the payments. Delay in the payments to the bus drivers and bus management is the first thing, and at the same time private bus operators are facing the capital loss. This issue has been highlighted, and along with that, one more issue that has been highlighted is that especially auto rickshaws. So especially auto rickshaws are affected, they affected very vulnerably in respect to this particular thing. So here they are going on strikings and everything. So here this is not important from this particular point of view. So this article is not important for normal thing, but here from this particular article what we need to do is that we need to get information like the concept of freebies in India. What is the concept of freebies in India? So, freebies are nothing but any kind of service or goods that is being provided by the government for free. So, instead of keeping any particular criteria, the government is offering any kind of services or goods for free to all the citizens. So, this particular is called as the freebies. Now, with similar to this particular scheme, there are other states who are following the same kind of scheme. Let's say for example, Delhi is the pioneer UT which has started this particular scheme in the name of the pink cards, and along with that this particular free bus ride for women also present in Telangana, Andhra Pradesh and south states like Karnataka and this Kerala. Now there are many states where this free bus scheme for women is being present. So this is one way of providing freebies. Now let's see what are the impacts. Now, because of these freebies, it is affecting the government and also citizens very negatively. Now, let's see impacts of freebies. There are both positive and the negative impacts. Positive and the negative impacts. Positive impacts include especially for the people who are poor and who do not have sufficient amount of money in order to do or carry out their daily livelihood activities. For them, these freebies are important and plays very significant role in their lives. But providing this particular freebies to all the sections of the society equally, it is not a good thing because it causes inequalities. It causes inequalities among the people. Let's say for example, from place A to place B, bus journey costs, let's say some 250 rupees. Providing free bus of 250 rupees ticket for poor women is good. Whereas the women who have ability to play, then for that people, this providing of freebies is useless. So this is causing inequality of income. So this is one of the negative. And along with that, it will causes strain on the economy. It will cause strain on the economy of a particular state where it can't put its expenditure on some of the important things like welfare schemes and upbringing of the separate sections. And along with this, it is also increasing social impact. As I already told you, it is increasing the inequalities. And efficient capital expenditure, CapEx, is also being reduced because of this particular thing. This is what is being identified in this particular article, where it is mentioning, where we need to understand about the positives and negatives of the freebies. Along with this, there is one more thing what you need to understand from this article, that is crowding out. Because of the excessive expenditure of the government on subsidies, the amount that is available to private sector is getting reduced. So private sector and the people who are in the private sector, they are out of the economy. So this is causing major impact. So linking the freebies with the crowding effect is what is the main thing you need to understand from this article. So you need to link freebies with the crowding effect. Now, what are the possible solutions for this? Let's see what are the possible solutions we can be given to the freebies. The first and foremost thing what we need to understand is that instead of providing the same benefits to all, proper rationalization or characterization where we need to divide the people and provide benefits only to the people who are in certain category based on their economic status. So rationalization of the benefits is the first and foremost thing. Along with that, in order to reduce the crowding out effect, public-private partnership must be increased. So public-private partnership must be increased, and especially in these kind of schemes, proper compensation must be provided. So proper compensation must be provided to the people, especially here like auto rickshaws and private bus operators who are facing losses. So proper compensation need to be provided for them. So these are the solutions. Now let's see this article from the prelims and the mains point of view. So in the prelims and the mains point of view, you need to understand the concept of the freebies, and at the same time you need to gather some of the examples of the freebies and the schemes. Now in the mains point of view, you must have a linkage of sufficient Supreme Court cases regarding the freebies, and at the same time you need to have basic knowledge on advantages and disadvantages of freebies and how to effectively manage them. How the state must effectively manage them, this you need to be understand from the prelims and the mains perspective. This is about the article here on freebies. Now let's move on to next article. So the next article here presents about the inequalities and inequities that are increasing with respect to cancer treatment. There are other few articles also before we have seen on the cancer in this week, where there are various causes of the cancer. Let's say penetration of UV rays is the main reason for occurrence of cancer, and at the same time consumption of tobacco is the major cause, and at the same time infections particularly among the women is also one of the cause. Along with that, genetic causes and changes in the dietary life and the lifestyle are also one of the major causes. Now in this regard, India has one of the largest burden, especially in all the continents. Asia is having around 50% of cancer cases that is being regarded because of its largest population. And in Asia, India is also one of the highest country that is regarding the huge increase in number of cancer cases. And among those all factors, tobacco is the major cause of cancer in men, and infections are major cause of cancer, especially in the women in India. Now, in this perspective, what this article is mentioning about is that there are growing inequities in the treatment of the cancer, because the spread of the cancer has increased, where the number of deaths because of the cancer is in second place. So the first place is that cardiovascular diseases, and the number of deaths due to cancer is in the second place, where we need to take. But there are some of the issues that are being present. The main issues are like the inequalities that are present. where the people who are economically viable and sound, they can make or afford the treatment. But at the same time, what about the people who are poor and not able to afford the treatment? So the cancer treatment is very costly. This is the first thing that have been highlighted in this particular article. And along with that, there are some of the issues like mental stress and the strain on the caretakers. Strain on the caretakers is the major issue, where hospitals need to have more integrated framework in order to solve this issue. Now here, what are the solutions that we can do? And also one more issue we need to mention here, that is, in India, cancer is not a notifiable disease. A disease is said to be notifiable whenever there is a legal responsibility on any person. With the time of occurrence of this particular disease, there is a legal responsibility in order to inform to the government. But this cancer is not a nationally notifiable disease, but some of the states have declared it as a notifiable disease. So these are the main issues in finding out or in reducing the cancer cases. But government has also came up with some of the schemes and some of the things like National Cancer Registry, and also providing essential medical care during the need. National Cancer Registry. So this is what is being highlighted in this particular article. Okay, now the solutions. So before we have seen this problem of causing inequalities in cancer and everything is not only related with respect to India. This is a problem that is being present in all the countries across all the continents. So the major thing or the major solutions what we need to take is that the approach of the whole world must be united. Let's say, for example, in case of advancements in discovery of any drug with respect to cancer, so all the countries must share their knowledge with respect to the cancer treatments. So this is the first thing. And one more thing is that government must provide proper financial and also mental support more effectively, especially for the people who are in the low income category. So these are the main solutions whatever we need to do in order to reduce the incidence of the cancer cases. So this is what you need to understand from this particular article. Now let's move on to, now see here, one more thing is that here in the prelims point of view, you need to have knowledge on this particular report. Global Report on Cancer, it was released by WHO. So in the prelims point of view, which continent has highest number of cases, cancer cases, and this particular report, and also basic knowledge on types of cancers along with the causes of cancer. Now in the mains point of view, you can highlight all these issues like notificable diseases and also the issues of the inequality, all these things, and also the way forward or the steps that has been taken by the government and that should be taken by the government in order to improve the conditions. So this is what you need to understand from this particular article in the prelims and the mains point of view. Now let's get into next article. So the next article here, it is mentioning about the census that is going to be happening where caste-based census. So this census is the first digital caste-based census where it is comparing with the previous census, where the census that has been happened in the year 1931 is the last caste-based census that has been happened in India, and this was tried in the year 2011 where there is an open column for caste. open column for filling of the caste, and this caused useless results. Why? Because there are many clans and there are many sub-clans and everything where the information was not able to segregate. So this information is like useless because of the open column that has been present in 2011. Now in the present census, now what happened is that instead of having open column, there are some separately categorized caste columns that have been given to the people, where people need to select their particular caste among. So this is what being highlighted in this particular article. Now this is in the prelims point of view, and in the mains point of view, what we need to understand is that is doing like performing census in the form of caste. Like caste based census, whether it is a good step or whether it is a bad step. This is what we need to understand. So this is a good step in one of the perspective, because according to Article 38 of the DPSP, it is the role of the state in order to maintain the social welfare and to reduce the inequalities among the people. So this can be better reduced, and at the same time welfare schemes can be better targeted when we are aware of the particular caste and the economical viability of the people of that particular caste. So this is one of the positive edge of doing this caste based census. Whereas negative thing is that since caste is one of the major social problem that India is facing. Now, taking enumeration in the name of the caste will discriminate them more. And there is a chance of misuse of the data, especially by the political parties during the election, where vote-based politics is the major issue. So, caste enumeration in the census is both the positive and the negative thing. Now, what is the solution for this? The major solution for this is that the information must be very confidential, where other political parties and any other third party should not use this information for their benefits, and this should not cause or penetrate the discrimination of the lower caste people. So these things must be taken care while performing the caste based census. So this is what you need to understand from this particular article. Now let's get on to next article. So the next article for today is right to be forgotten. The right to be forgotten. Let's say, for example, in order to understand this concept, you need to have some basic clarity of what is right to be forgotten. Let's say, assume a person called X has committed one crime, let's say in the year 2000. Now, he has faced prison term like almost for 25 years. Now, he has been acquitted or he has been released from the prison. Now, the information about this person on public platforms, especially like web platforms and public platforms, the information about this person called X, it should be forgotten. Means, since that person X has already faced the criteria or the punishment and he has been released after facing all the punishment, his name should not be present in any kind of particular public platform that he has committed the wrong. Why? Because this has already been done. Punishment has already been done, and this is against the right to privacy. Right to privacy and also right to life of that particular person who has faced the punishment. So this is what the basic thing you need to understand from this particular article, because in the Puttaswamy judgment also in 2017, right to privacy is fundamental right under Article 21. So the person, after facing the punishment and after getting releasing, he has the right to privacy and right to life. So this is like one of the issue that has been highlighted here, and for that thing, two solutions have been provided here. The two solutions that are being provided here are nothing but, so the first and foremost thing is that de-indexing, and the next is masking. So de-indexing is the first thing and masking is the second solution. De-indexing is nothing but, let's say a person X has committed the crime. Okay, so I should not, if I search the person called X, his crime records should not be present on the public media. So the thing is that searching the case. So searching the case by name of the person should be disabled. So this is what is meant by de-indexing. So the personal information about that particular person should not be available when the person is searched by his name. This is called as the de-indexing. Now, masking. So instead of having or using the original name of the person, so instead of using the original name of the person, the name of the person is being replaced with, let's say, person ABC, person XYZ, person PKQ. So instead of using the original name of the person, it is being replaced with these particular names. So this is called as the masking. Now here comes the dilemma, that is open justice versus privacy. Open justice versus privacy, where each and every people, the public has a responsibility and also the right to know any kind of information related to their safety. This is the open justice. Whereas privacy, it relates to the right of privacy under Article 21 and under right to life under Article 21 that exists for the person who has been released after facing the punishment. So there is a dilemma between open justice and the privacy. So this is what you need to be understand from this particular article. Okay, now let's link in the mains point of view. In the prelims point of view, this article is important, especially this Puttaswamy judgment provisions and the year in which it has been mentioned, and right to be forgotten comes under which article. This is you need to be mentioned, and along with that, in the mains point of view, you need to be aware of the de-indexing, masking, and the rights of both the persons, the rights of both. That is, here you need to mention about, this is with respect to GS2. With respect to GS2 and GS3, you can quote this. But with respect to GS4 ethics, where you can use it in the ethical dilemma cases, where open justice versus privacy is an issue. This is what you need to understand from this particular newspaper article. Now, let's move on to next article. Now, this article is mentioning about the role of women empowerment that is being done in the China. So, how women in the China, they are enrolled themselves in various kinds of tasks that is being done even by the men. So, this you can use as one of the example in your case study answer writing, especially with respect to women. how they can excel in all the fields, how they can excel in all the fields irrespective of some of the fields. Like this is an example where you can use it as a case study in GS2 and GS1, especially in society, where with respect to women empowerment, we can see the examples of a Chinese woman with respect to all the household chores and also all the tasks. So this is what you can use as a case study in your mains answer writing in the society perspective. So these are the articles for today. So please understand the article in prelims point of view, mains point of view, and especially try to note down the some of the words which you can directly use in your answers, and try to note down some of the conclusions which I have been highlighting in the green color so that you can directly use them in your answers. So these are the articles for today's newspaper analysis. If you like the video, please like, share, comment and subscribe to Vayu IAS Academy. Thank you.